Thanks, Sophie. Tonight on BBC London. The Chancellor's plans to cut some disability benefits are met with protests and warnings.
The eligibility to PIP are going to be catastrophic for disabled people. I think thousands, if not millions, of disabled people are going to be pushed further into hardship or poverty.
We'll have the details of what it means for Londoners. Also on the programme, how e-bikes have been banned on the Tube network. Plus, remembering the worst British maritime disaster ever with a newly composed piece of music. And the young volunteers making a big difference by planting trees in North London. Good evening and welcome to the programme. I'm Alice Bandukravi. As we've been hearing, today the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, delivered her spring statement setting out growth estimates, investment and cuts to certain budgets. Among the announcements, there was confirmation that some disability benefits would be cut and that fewer people would be eligible for them in the future. But absent from the Chancellor's statement was any announcement on council funding at a time when many local authorities in the capital are struggling. Our political editor, Carl Mercer, has more.
This is what it looked like on Downing Street this morning.
Don't cut PIP!
Tax the rich!
And this is what it looked and sounded like outside. Disability campaigners making the Prime Minister well aware of their feelings as he left for Parliament this morning. The government's plans to cut some disability benefits, known as personal independence payments, were trailed last week and confirmed today.
I think the proposals to change the eligibility to PIP are going to be catastrophic for disabled people. I think thousands, if not millions, of disabled people are going to be pushed further into hardship or poverty. I think the effect on people's lives is... I know that people make the case that these are about savings, but if you don't give people the minimum amount that they need to get by, you see that those costs are just shifted elsewhere to things like councils and the NHS and housing.
We can't go in there because it's not accessible for wheelchairs. We're marching down to meet the housing movement.
Hundreds of protesters then made their way down Whitehall as the Chancellor defended the government's plans.
This government inherited a broken system. More than 1,000 people every day are qualifying for personal independence payments. 1 in 8 young people are not in employment, education or training. If we do nothing, we are writing off an entire generation. That cannot be right, and we will not stand for it.
They're going to put more strain on the NHS, more strain on the care system, more strain on things, because essentially what you're doing is cutting the money that people use to get to work, to access work, and therefore people are not going to be able to get to work, not going to be able to live safely, and therefore we'll need the care system more, we'll need the NHS more, we'll need other services more. So it's a false economy, in my opinion.
Others watching today's statement include London's 33 councils. 7 have already had to be bailed out by central government. They may have to wait until June's spending review to find out their financial fate.
We are asking the government to use the comprehensive spending review and the upcoming reforms on local government finance to stabilise finances. If we don't do that, we are at risk of more councils going under. And that undermines economic confidence. And that also costs us all more in the long run, and no one wants to see that happen.
A warning then for the Chancellor, already aware of the impact her cuts are having on thousands in the capital.
Well, Carl is here with me now. Carl, do we know how many Londoners are going to be affected by some of these cuts?
Yeah, well, the government's own assessment says something like 250,000 people will be put into relative poverty. That's across the whole of the country. So that means there will be tens of thousands of Londoners, plus the tens of thousands who are going to lose money over their personal independence payments also. There are some other key dates as well, if we're talking about Londoners losing money. April the 1st, water, energy, council tax bills start going up. April the 6th, those national insurance contribution changes that the government announced in the autumn statement also start coming through, means businesses will be paying more.
And we know, Carl, don't we, that local authorities are really stretched for cash, but they're going to have to wait a bit longer to find out their fate.
Yeah, they are. Everyone's looking towards something called the Comprehensive Spending Review, basically where the government will set out its long-term spending plans for the next 3 to 5 years. So the mayor, local councils, the police in London, all looking at it, Transport for London saying, look, give us more money for projects, yes, but also give us long-term funding plans, not the annual money that you hand out at the moment. Makes it difficult for us to plan. We want 3 or 5 year plans so we can maybe spend more money on bigger projects.
And I'm sure we'll be hearing much more about that, Carl. Thank you. Our political editor, Carl Mercer there. And there's lots more on today's spring statement on our website, or you can, of course, head to the BBC News app. Lots more, including why e-bikes have been banned on the Tube network. The Met Police have given an update today following the discovery of a newborn baby who was found dead outside a church in Notting Hill yesterday. Matt Graveling can tell us more.
The flowers placed here today, most likely older than the life they were being laid to remember. Just metres from the doors of this church in Notting Hill, a newborn baby boy was left in a carrier bag. Today, in the search for answers, an appeal for witnesses.
This was a black Marks and Spencer's bag with pictures of avocados on the side. The bag was discovered by a council refuse worker who immediately contacted the police. Officers attended alongside colleagues from the London Ambulance Service, but very sadly, the baby was pronounced dead at the scene.
It was just before 1 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon that police were called here to All Saints Church, and they quickly erected a tent over this black bin. Local people say that it's used by street sweepers to store collected leaves, and just up there is a CCTV camera. Could that hold crucial information? In the moments that followed, police searched for the mother.
2 women officers asked me if they could come in and search the church, and I let them in. And they searched the toilets and all around the church. I presume they were looking for the mother in case she was hiding somewhere or something. That's all I could think.
The police are appealing for the mother to come forward as she may need urgent medical care.
My priority is to help you and make sure that you can receive medical assistance. You can do this at any time by attending any hospital, police station, or by calling the emergency services.
People here told me they are keeping the young baby in their prayers as a community in shock awaits answers. Matt Graveling, BBC London.
Let's take a look now at some of the day's other news. A manhunt is underway after a woman died after being hit by a driver who was being pursued by police in northwest London. It happened yesterday afternoon on Graham Park Way in Edgware. The Met says the driver of the car did not stop at the scene. Police have arrested 2 more suspects in connection with the fatal shooting of 16-year-old Nathaniel Burrell in South London. A 30-year-old man from Lambeth and a 17-year-old boy from Peckham were arrested on Tuesday on suspicion of murder. 2 other men have already been charged. NHS leaders have confirmed a decision to close the maternity unit at the Royal Free Hospital. It follows a 3-year consultation because of declining birth rates. Suites at the Edgware Birth Centre will also eventually close, but maternity services at the Whittington Hospital will remain open. And of course, for more stories in London or your local area, just head to the BBC News website or the BBC News app. Fearing for our lives and living in hiding. That's how one mother has described the impact of gang violence on her family. Despite asking for help from multiple organisations, she says she's completely alone. Tonight we're looking at the impact of gang violence, hearing from those who have to deal with the repercussions of having a loved one targeted by a gang, and those trying to stop young teenagers being killed on our streets. Frankie McCamley has this special report.
He can't walk down the street in fear of his life. If somebody was to see him, they will stab him. They will kill him. His life is in danger.
This mother, whose identity we have to protect, is trying to speak out before it's too late for her son.
We always hear of the tragic situation. We never know what were the events leading up to that. And I feel that's really important. If there's going to be any kind of change, something needs to happen before it gets to that stage. I don't want to be that mum where it's too late.
She's seen so many other mothers in her position bury their children, lost to gang violence before their lives have even begun. She's asked multiple agencies and authorities for help.
But actually, what happened was I ended up being on a child protection plan. They said I wasn't capable or fit to look after my children, so I didn't actually get any help.
She says her son has had a target on his back after the council moved her family from one borough to another, crossing postcodes. For years, those involved in gangs risk being attacked for straying into the wrong area. Dubbed postcode or turf wars, the phrase has been linked to many stabbings in the capital, turning parts of London into no-go zones for some. Public transport is also too dangerous for the young man.
He doesn't feel safe. He's been attacked on the bus, so he hasn't been on the bus since he's been 15. He doesn't feel that safe on the train because things have happened on trains.
She says he was also targeted by a honey trap.
A female friend invited my son round and trapped him. He had a gang of people torture him for the duration of the whole night.
How is he physically now?
Since the honey trap, the light that he used to have in him, because he's a lovely boy, totally gone. These are the things that you go through, but you go through alone because no one don't care unless something happens. And then it's just a tragic incident, isn't it?
The family live in hiding and fear help won't come until it's too late. But for some, it is too late. I've spoken to so many parents who've lost their children at the hands of a knife. Many knew their sons and daughters were vulnerable, but the problem is they don't know where to turn to ask for help. And for those who do, they tell me the help simply isn't there. Mark has been supporting mothers trapped in this cycle. He's also trying to get to the root cause of the ongoing violence in the capital by talking to older gang members in the hope of saving younger lives.
Our aim is to get the older generation of these guys around the table to discuss ways forward for each individual gang. It starts with reality, bringing reality home that children are dying. If survival's your game, don't let killing be your legacy. You have to actually know that you're here to survive, and survive can't be death. Death is destruction.
He's calling for a change from the top.
If you can find billions to go and fight someone else's war, look at the problems that's in your own country and do something about it. It's just as simple as changing the policies and bringing people up to a stage where they will not starve and they have light in their house. Nobody's going to watch their family die or starve to death in reality in England. They're going to find another way, and that's what we're seeing right now.
While the Mayor's office says nothing is more important than keeping Londoners safe, and it's committed to doing all it can to help reduce crime and violence in our city, some mothers still say they fear the worst each time their children leave the house.
Well, Frankie is here with me now. Such powerful testimony from that mother. Where can parents go if they fear that their child is being targeted by a gang?
It is really powerful, isn't it? Well, there are a number of things that they can do. Schools are a good place to start. Talk to teachers. They may know who the child is associating themselves with, what's going on there. Schools can also contact social services. Parents can go directly to social services too. Now, if there's a concern that there's some kind of illegal activity taking place, for example, a child carrying a concealed weapon, then it may be a matter for the police. But we do know parents can be apprehensive when going to the authorities. So there are a number of charities or groups in the area, just like Mark that was in that report, that people can turn to. So some groups have confidential phone lines you can call, or others may know what's going on in the area. These anti-knife crime groups may know. So contact those. But these groups don't have enough funding to help everyone, and that's one of the problems. It can be so difficult to find that help.
Absolutely. Well, there's some important advice there. Frankie, thank you very much. The parents of Sarah Everard are calling for tougher sentencing for violent and sexual criminals as part of a new campaign group. They've been meeting cross-party MPs today along with other families. They include the cousin of Mirachan Mustafa, known as Jan, who was murdered by a convicted paedophile. He was jailed for life with a minimum term of 38 years.
You shouldn't use the word life because it's misleading to others. People think that we've been given justice because he's got life, but at one point he will be out, seeing his family again, doing the normal things that you do. But we've lost our loved ones, so we're suffering.
Non-folding e-bikes will be banned from the end of this month across most of London's transport network. TfL confirmed that they will be banned from the Tube, Overground, Elizabeth Line and the DLR. It follows pressure from unions, with ASLEF even threatening to ballot members for strike action. Our transport correspondent Tom Edwards explains.
At Sutton train station, an electric bike is on the platform and starts to smoke. As the riders run away, it bursts into flames. Smoke and debris spread right across the platform. It was this CCTV that led to the Transport for London tube and train e-bike ban. Andre uses the Elizabeth line to get out to Berkshire to go cycling on his e-bike. Not anymore.
It makes everything a lot more complicated. And I am truly worried. I'm worried that I'm not going to be able to cycle as much as I have done over the last few years. And now I'm just really disappointed for myself and probably many other people in the same situation as me, who rely on their e-bikes for mobility.
At this shop in London Bridge, they're disappointed. Their safe products are being treated the same as substandard bikes. They say the ban could stop the spread of a green form of transport.
The differentiation between the good and the bad is what's tricky, and by banning all, it muddies the waters. And the UK population doesn't necessarily know the difference between good and bad and just assumes that all are bad. And in an environment where we need to increase the amount of green transportation, we're throttling that.
Drivers' unions threatened to take strike action over the issue. They highlighted the number of converted e-bikes now being taken onto TfL services. Folding e-bikes will still be allowed. E-scooters are already banned after fires like this one on the District Line. E-bike and e-scooter fires are the fastest growing fire trend in London. TfL says it had no choice.
We recognise that for those users of our network who use electric bikes and bring them on, this is an inconvenience. But when you look at the footage and the impact of an electric bike fire, it's devastating. The smoke is toxic, it spreads incredibly quickly. If that was to happen on one of our trains, it could really lead to customer injury.
The industry says regulation is needed, not blanket bans. TfL says safety had to come first. The e-bike ban on TfL services starts on Monday. Tom Edwards, BBC London.
Now, it was the single biggest British loss of life in maritime history, but you may never have even heard of it. This is the Lancastria, which was sent to Europe during World War II to help evacuate British troops and civilians after Germany invaded France. On her way back to Britain, though, she was sunk by German planes and thousands were killed. This week, a new piece of music will be performed ahead of the 85th anniversary. Anna O'Neill has been to have a listen.
Lancastria, the title of a new piece of music to be heard in public for the first time later this week, being rehearsed at St Catherine Cree Church in the City of London. Each June, Lloyd's Choir sings for a special service remembering the sinking of the Lancastria, a cruise ship sent to rescue British nationals from France in 1940.
The first couple of years I was engaged and to conduct this service, and I read in the order of service about this ship, And like everyone I know who learns about this, I thought, why on earth have I not heard of this catastrophic, terrible tragedy before? So a conviction grew that I needed to commemorate it in some way as a composer, because it's such a moving tragedy, and also because no one knows about it.
Prime Minister Winston Churchill suppressed the news that up to 7,000 people had been killed, fearing for the morale of the nation. As things got worse for Britain, he says in his memoirs he simply forgot to tell the nation what had happened, but the tragedy had to be marked.
I believe that the government asked the chairman of Cunard to find an appropriate place for an annual remembrance. The chairman of Cunard went to the top of his office, looked west, saw the spires of St Catherine Cree, knocked on the door, and that is the reason.
It used to be held on a Sunday, and that was at a time when there were still survivors who regularly attended the service, and there were also people who came over from France.
The church has a stained glass window commemorating the tragedy, which was commissioned in the 60s.
The top half of the window shows the parable of Christ walking on the water and calming the storm, which obviously is very fitting. About 2/3 of the way down there is the picture of the image of the Lancastria's upturned hull, with smoke coming from the hull, and also a rescue boat rowing away with soldiers in it.
The world premiere of Jakes Cohen's Lancastria will be performed later this week as part of the Lloyd Choir's spring concert.
I'm not a historian, I'm a musician, so I have to find my own way to do that. So writing a piece is the most obvious way for me to do that. Anything that spreads awareness, I think that's a really important and good and powerful thing.
Anna O'Neill, BBC London.
Now, have you heard of pocket parks in London? Well, today school children from Barnet were hard at work planting a tiny forest. Thousands of saplings were put in next to one of our busiest roads in the hope that in the decades to come, this little corner of the capital will become a green and pleasant land. Yasmin Rufo explains.
A forest the size of a tennis court might sound unusual, but next to the A1 in Finchley, 3 of them are springing to life as hundreds of volunteers have come together to plant almost 2,000 trees.
We have been digging the trees and planting them. We're planting 3 apple trees, 2 oak trees and 4 lime trees. You can't put them all together because if you put them together, the roots, it will get all tangled and then wouldn't be good. I think that's good.
The aim of the tiny forest is to give residents the chance to enjoy a part of wild nature that can be hard to access for many Londoners.
We've disconnected from nature, particularly in London, but around the UK as well. And if you plant a tree, you come back and look at it and you check it's all right and you give it a drink and you watch it come to blossom. So it just helping everyone connect with nature is what the project's all about.
And there's a particular reason why this plot of land was chosen for the tiny forests.
This area was a very unloved piece of ground. It really wasn't used by anybody. You've got an incredibly busy road here, so the air quality around here is appalling. Trees provide an incredibly good barrier to pollution, to cars and traffic.
These tiny forests won't just be pretty to look at, they'll act as a living laboratory, which will help increase local biodiversity and help scientists understand how urban trees can grow best.
The scientific impact of this plot of land is to help to absorb pollution, it's to help for flood alleviation schemes, it's to help to understand how we can get in front of climate challenges. So there'll be a significant amount of data captured by local citizen scientists here at this site, and that will help to inform some of the mitigations for climate challenges ahead.
As this plot of land becomes a place for local families to enjoy and scientists to monitor air quality improvements, there's hope this tiny forest will have a big impact. Yasmin Rufo, BBC London.
Now, before we get a check on the weather, you might have noticed lots of blossom around. It's that time of year, of course. And if you've seen some particularly pretty blossom near you, then we'd love to get a picture of it. You can send it either via email It's hello@bbc.co.uk, or you can WhatsApp us. Just scan the QR code that's on the screen now for your beautiful blossom pictures. Now it is time for the weather with Stav, who's here. And with Stav, we need it to not be too windy so that we can preserve that lovely blossom. What's it going to be like?
Well, the weather's been perfect for blossom recently because of high pressure, but Friday, Saturday, we could see strong winds for a time before high pressure returns. So there could be a little bit of blossom flying around by the end of the week. Good evening to you. It's been another pretty warm day for the time of year. Temperatures hit 18 Celsius in numerous spots across the capital. And tomorrow looks much the same. A chilly start, some early mist and fog and low cloud, and that'll lift to allow for some sunny spells. And again, winds light under this area of high pressure. But there is a change taking place across the northwest of the country. That will arrive across our region as we head through Thursday night and into Friday, bringing the temperatures down. But before that point, though, we're still under high pressure. Tonight's going to be largely dry, clear skies. We could see, again, some mist, some fog, some low cloud developing here and there. Temperatures outside the M25 dipping down to 2 or 3 degrees. Another chilly one, but in the capital, around 5 degrees or so. So a chilly start tomorrow. That low cloud, mist and fog should burn away, and then we should see some decent spells of sunshine as we head through the morning and into the afternoon. Those temperatures responding once again well above where they should be for the time of year, around 17 degrees, and those winds light coming in from the west or southwest. And then as we head through Thursday night, it's dry after a very fine evening, and then by the end of the night here comes this weather front, which has got some colder air behind it, but it won't really move across our area until we head through Friday morning. Temperatures to start Friday around 6 to 8 degrees. But those weather fronts do cross our patch as we head through Friday morning and then introduce this colder, fresher air for all areas. And the winds will be quite blustery coming down from the northwest. It's here where we could see some of the blossoms being blown around. That rain will spread through the region during Friday morning. Could be quite heavy for a time. Skies brighten up for Friday afternoon, but then we'll see a rush of showers pushing in from the northwest. Some of these could be heavy, but there'll be some lengthy sunny spells in between. But our temperatures are back down closer to the seasonal norm, 11 to 13 degrees. If you factor in the wind, it'll feel chillier than that. But it doesn't last, though. Saturday will be another blustery day with a few showers, but then by Sunday, high pressure builds back in again, and those temperatures are above the seasonal norm, 17, maybe 18 degrees, and winds coming in from the west, but then we start to pick up an easterly as we get ever closer towards the start of April. So it is improving after a chillier spell for Friday and into Saturday with stronger winds, Alice, for a time.
I'm glad to see it's looking up though, Stav. Thank you. A reminder of today's top story now. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, has delivered her spring statement to the Commons, setting out the UK's growth forecast and a series of cuts in public spending, including more changes to the main benefit, universal credit. Well, that's it from me. We'll be here later at 10:30, but for now, from all of us, have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.